All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Yeah. I forgot. I always there's actually you don't know you never know. Is there anybody here from? Yeah, it depends. We're actually doing this at the right time. It's kind of early in the morning. So well, not early in the morning, but it's morning still. Whereas
Yes.
a lot of the other interviews I've done over the last few days, for reasons, have been in the afternoon, which is not great because Europe, it's way past dinner. It's almost bedtime.
Yes,
And,
now we're getting at dinner time here.
which is good. I mean, people are not at work. People are at work here in the Americas, right? They're busy. Not like us. We're software people. This is hardly work. But also, what time is it? I mean, actually, 16 hours, something like that. So,
In France, it should
time
be
in Tokyo,
probably
probably early morning. Yeah,
In Tokyo, Japan, it's 2:47.
yeah, 2:47. So we're gonna miss out, but some of the South Asians might still hang out. It's an okay time. It's much better than say like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. Is my point.
Yes.
Uh,
You lost Europe. Maybe Tokyo's coming up.
yeah, well, yeah, they'll wake up around 4 or 5, right? Like today in the afternoon, I get people from. My point is, we might get people from Europe and EMEA and Africa and all that stuff.
Yes.
So bonjour tout le monde. Hi, welcome. Let's see here. I never know. Where is everybody? Where's everybody coming in from today? Did we also anybody from India? Because congrats. That moon landing was that's so cool. That was the coolest thing I've seen. In years. That's really, really cool. I'm at SpringOne and the thing I'm gonna remember is that moon landing. I mean,
Exactly.
SpringOne has been a lot of fun, but that moon landing.
I woke up jet lag a bit early in the
Yeah.
morning, 5 in the morning, grabbed my phone and watched the thing live.
That's so
Very
good.
exciting.
That is so cool. I mean, yeah, it makes me. I don't know about you all, but do you have goosebumps? Congrats, Pranav. That is amazing. That is. I mean, wow. You should be very proud. I am very proud of India and of course humanity for.
An achievement.
Yeah, because sometimes it's so easy to forget. We're all so small. My life is my life, and I'm doing my thing. And
Yeah, did you see the pictures of the control room?
yeah,
How packed it was.
Burst into cheers
yeah.
and my goodness, yeah, it was great. That's amazing. It makes me, wow. I felt small. It's very easy to get lost in the idea that I am I'm the star of my own story.
Right.
And you kind of forget that, oh yeah, we're all in this little rock hurtling through space. There's.
And if you want to do great things,
We need to each other.
Yeah,
man. Oh yeah, congratulations, Vimana Venkatesh. That is so cool. Congratulations to everyone. That's truly wow. From the south, I don't understand enough, but I know it's the South Pole, and apparently nobody's ever done that in the history of. Well, first of all, there's only been this is the 4th country to ever set something down on the moon.
Yeah.
So even anywhere in the moon, it doesn't even matter if it's the same place. It's the fourth country to ever do it.
Yes.
Right. Which is incredible. And then this is the first country to ever go to that very difficult area.
Right.
Ever. I mean, congratulations, Vishiv. That's amazing. I wish I could talk to somebody in the control room. Just.
Yeah. And first tried to, right?
Yeah.
It just landed.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, if you're watching this is not going to be as exciting as that. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, of course.
That was.
But now that the exciting bit has gone, we can blabber about software now.
I guess, but doesn't it make you kind of like weepy-eyed a little bit? Yeah, it makes me so happy. But anyway, so yeah, today you are. I'm very happy we have our friends from India in the midst, but usually I get people from like Morocco and Belgium. Oh, we are all still over the moon. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. It will take a few days, right?
Or I hope. I mean, I wouldn't let it go for even. I would wait longer. Like let it. That's amazing. Yeah, humans do amazing things when they work together. And India just showed the world that as they often do. Yeah, it's a party. I wish I could be in India. I'll bet that would be an amazing party right now.
Oh my God, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're in Vegas. This is the opposite of
a party.
well, I mean, SpringOne's great, but
yes.
but Vegas is not where you go to. Actually, I wonder if I can show people.
Yeah, you could try that.
Would you mind holding that for just a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Vegas. There, that's the view from here. You can see the Venetian kind of across the way there, and there's that stupid dome over there, and I don't care. It's not a place I go to for fun usually. There's some nice people here that are friends, that live here, and that's nice. But
it's an experience.
But I wish that we could have the spring. Yeah, it's an experience. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, you kind of have to live it to understand what it really means.
Yeah, but it's so disorienting as well.
Yes.
Like
I can understand and parse the entire OAuth 2 spec, no problem. But like finding the exit to the casino.
Forever. And it doesn't matter how many times you look at it. It's like, wait, did it just change again? It's so. Or even if you're not careful, you can leave the room early in the morning. And so I have the blinds open because I need sunlight, because nowhere else in the building will you get natural sunlight. You have to take vitamins to make sure you don't become.
There are fake painted skies with artificial light inside.
But then if you don't like that and you want it to be dark, just walk a few more blocks in the same building. And now they have like the Venice canals at night. And I'm like, who is this for? It's so disorienting. I would rather just go to Venice. It's a
yes.
Or they have a Paris casino here.
Yes,
Did you love that?
I have not visited it, but it has the Eiffel Tower. I can see it from my room. I'm a few floors up. In Paris, this would be a very, very expensive view. Seeing the Eiffel Tower from your room.
But the difference is you can take the photos of this one at night.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Did you all know that you can't take photos of the Eiffel Tower at night? You can take it during the day, but there's a light show there, and that light show is copyright or something, right?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Something like that.
Links. Well, I mean, you're not supposed to, but we are French. We do it anyway.
Yeah, well, vive la patrie.
Oui.
But then it would so most countries have a landscape exception to photography. Like if you take a photo out in public,
right,
whatever's in your frame is yours to take a photo
of,
right? It's public.
Yes.
Why would anybody stop that, right? But in France, I guess it's one of the few countries in the world where they don't have that.
I try. No, we do have that. If you're going to a public place,
the Eiffel Tower is the proof that they don't have it.
Yeah. Well,
right. Yeah. That's why, because that's like a piece of art. It's in the landscape though, but you can still be sued. No, Frank, I think you probably won't get sued. You'll be, if you put it on like Instagram and people can find you, you'll probably get a nasty gram from some bureau asking for a license fee or something. But whatever. Okay. What I was trying to say was, as much as I've enjoyed SpringOne, it would be cool if this was like in Bangalore or something.
Oh yeah.
The food would be good.
But like
the party,
nobody would go to the conference anymore.
Yeah. Because they'd all be outside having.
Exactly. And so would the speakers. So
Yeah. And it's nice and warm. It's hot here, right? It's been raining the last few days, but it's normally very hot, and it's the summertime.
Right.
So weather-wise, it's just a little bit more humid and a little bit less hot in India usually.
Yeah.
Although I've been to, I don't know, 10 cities in India, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love India. And every time I go, I bring my stretchy pants because I love the food. And one time I made a mistake. I went to Goa, which is not the mistake. That's great. I love Goa. I went to Goa during the summer.
Right.
Okay. Now, I should have asked somebody. I should have asked a friend or somebody to tell me why that was a bad idea. My understanding is that only Indians go during the summer. It's too hot for.
Oh, really?
Oh, it is so hot. It is. Yeah. It was just. Oh boy, was that hot. It was beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Really, really amazing. But also, yeah, like you can't really sit out on the beach. You'll die. You'll get cooked. You can see. It's almost like you can see steam. The ocean's being cooked. But you can't. It's not that hot. But yeah. Okay. Anyway, we should at SpringOne in Goa. That's a dream.
Oh yes,
yeah,
we're not there yet.
No.
We have some work to do.
Did you know that we actually did do it? Actually, no. Now that I think of it, we did do a SpringOne in India.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we had this weird experiment. There was what happened? It was 2000 and let's say 11 or 12. I don't know, like a minute ago, right? What?
That's like committing suicide.
Oh, you mean going to go in this? Oh, that's a very scary thing to post. Yeah. You mean going to go in the summer? Yeah, it's for me. You know, I couldn't handle it. I needed to drink a lot of water, and it's a great city, great place. I had a lot of fun. Just the heat. I'll never forget the heat.
SpringOne.
So we had this great like experience where this has got to be, so it's before Pivotal.
Right.
I don't know if people know, but I've been on the Spring team since 2010. I joined the Spring team at VMware.
Right.
Then the Spring team and I was part of the Spring team. So we all went to start a new company called Pivotal right there. That's this company. And that company was amazing. And then VMware
it was so amazing.
Yeah.
They bought it back.
VMware bought the company. They reacquired it. And so I've been same job, like I've been doing the same thing for 13 years, but the company, the name on the checks changed, right? So anyway, when I say at VMware, what I mean is before Pivotal, same job, same team, same Spring, same everything, but it's just a very weird history to follow. Okay, so Simon, there's one of our amazing regulars. He's in Belgium. Simon, are you going to be at Devox?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because you're going to be there.
I'm going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be there. He'll be there. We should. I want to meet Simon, if at all possible. So anyway, we did this. What were we doing? We had like advocacies.
Mm-hmm.
We had advocates, right? Like myself, I'm an advocate for Spring, and then we did. We had advocates for JavaScript, and for Ruby on Rails, and for RabbitMQ and PHP.
Did we?
Yeah, it was and we had an advocate for like general architectural cloud things, right? That was Chris Richardson, actually. That was another one. He's on the show recently. So all these like all these focused advocates, and so we also had. So I think, and this is all because of like we had Cloud Foundry, right? We were talking about this brand new thing called Cloud Foundry, and so we wanted to like take this thing worldwide. So we did a SpringOne
platform,
kinda, but in China, in Beijing, right, and we did 2 in India, 2 different cities in India.
Amazing.
Yeah, I forget this. Maybe one was surely Bangalore, but I forget the other one. Maybe Delhi. I don't know. It's been 12 years, but or 11. I don't know. It's just been a long time. And anyway, we did these 2 different things, and I think we gave them away like for free or basically very cheap. The tickets were not your normal prices, and so we had thousands of people at both events.
That's so great.
Thousands and thousands of people. It was and then at the same time, the one in the United States wasn't that big.
Yeah,
the one in the United States, SpringOne in the US. Hello from Romania. Hi, nice to see you. Hola from Spain. Hello from Spain. That's so cool. Small world.
Hi, Ines. Daniel. We have a Daniel.
Oh,
great name. Love it.
Oh no, he's asking a question. Daniel, are you doing a 3-hour deep dive Spring security session at Devox this year?
So no, but I have good news for you. Lore Spilka, who wrote a book on Spring Security, is doing a 3-hour deep dive.
That's going to be great. I love his
Spring
YouTubes.
Security 6. However, I'll be doing some stuff around OAuth and OpenID, so more specific, not very springy. It's going to be more general. So if you're if you always wonder what this is and how you can use it, then that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, I want to see that. Let's see. Wait, over the moon. Yeah, I'm over the moon too. That's amazing. I'm still good to see you all. I'm so glad you're all here. Let's see. On what date? That's the question, I guess.
Oh, at Devox? I don't think
hard to tell at the moment.
Yeah, it's not been scheduled yet. The workshops that are going to be on the Monday and Tuesday. It's early October, 5th or something.
Yeah.
And then my session, I don't know. It's not been scheduled, so probably sometime Wednesday through Friday. Same as yours, right?
I have no idea. I think I'm going. I don't know. DevOps. If you're going to be in DevOps Belgium, it'll be great. If you're going to be at Java Zone, that should be okay too. It'll be great. I'll be there. What other shows? I'm at SpringOne. If you're here, say hi. Okay, let's talk about this. So, all that backdrop. Anyway, that those two SpringOnes were cool. I wonder if anybody went to. I wonder if it'd be cool if you know somebody who went to one of those. Just say hi. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that. Now, a decade later, Now we're at this SpringOne. Thank you for taking the time to hang out today. I know you're busy because it's obviously like crazy out there. It's just, oh my goodness. 2nd to 6th October. Is that DevOps
Belgium? Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Wow,
Right.
that's gonna come quick.
You ready?
No,
Perfect.
DevOps Belgium.
It's a long flight. You have time to prepare your talk there.
I mean, my talk's ready, but like DevOps Belgium is it's nothing like that, right? There's nothing. It's the craziest.
It's one of the biggest in Europe, right?
I think DevOps France just overtook it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I think DevOps France just overtook it. But yeah, before that, DevOps Belgium was the biggest, and it's still DevOps.
Yes.
Either way,
Yes.
they're both DevOxes. DevOx.
I don't think.
DevOxi?
Yes, DevOx is DevOxi. I don't know. I think they don't want to grow DevOps Belgium. They just like the venue, and so
Yeah, it's classic. It's but either way, you wouldn't know it when you go there. It is when you go there. There's no actually the one in France in Paris is in a huge venue, so it actually
Yes.
feels a little bit smaller
Yes.
because you don't see as many people per square foot.
Yes.
Whereas in Belgium, bring your COVID masks. There are you're just up to your
nobody
shoulder to
brought
shoulder.
them last year.
No,
The COVID mask.
I tried, but it was just at some point I was like, well, some things shouldn't be open source, but whatever. I didn't catch it because I think I was lucky, but I should wear a mask. But anyway, yeah, they're both amazing. All the DevOxes are fantastic, right? Like I'm a huge fan. Obviously, the one I miss is DevOps Ukraine. It's still you can do online ones right now, but I can't wait for that one to be
back on track.
back on track. Exactly. That's a great show as well. Okay, so you're in you work on one of the most important sides of the team, right? We have the Spring team is huge. We have a lot of different projects, and there's open source stuff, and that open source stuff is useful to a lot of people, but it's only useful if somebody pays us to. If we have no money to like come to work, then at some point, even the most committed of contributors will have to say, I can't be here, right?
Yes.
So what we try and do is to sell as VMware has products, which is good because somebody's got to do that, right? And a lot of the things we do is just sort of making taking these things and checking off certain important features for enterprises.
Right.
Things
exactly.
that enterprises have different use cases a lot of times than just individual like startups or whatever. And where maybe a small startup is perfectly fine to sit there and figure out how to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe an enterprise would just say, nope, I just want to pay for it, and I'm happy if somebody picks up the phone call.
Yes, definitely. For the phone call, they have compliance needs. They have
Right.
lots of requirements. So I work for VMware Tanzu.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
Spring. It's a clothing company, as you can see.
Yeah. Right.
In the Spring commercial group, so it's
Right.
still part of Spring, and we package some of the Spring products. The product I work on in that package is the Spring authorization server that we put in our Tanzu application platform to give SSO capabilities to developers without them having to build their own auth server and having to understand all of these intricacies of OAuth and OpenID and so on.
So the authorization server, for people on this channel, I did a video with Steve Reisenberg I don't know, May or something like that, right? It's probably my favorite video. I mean, it's just if you get a chance to watch, if you can go watch and learn about the Spring authorization server, you trust me, it'll blow your mind that you can get something. Do you remember the first time you set up the @enable Eureka server?
Oh, yes,
Right.
I remember that.
It's like you one little annotation, and then suddenly you have infrastructure. There's middleware.
Yeah.
A website appears, and there's a log and metrics and consoles, and
Yeah.
how it's a distributed system. Suddenly, I've just added one annotation. So that was like very, the input was an annotation, the output was like a server,
Yes.
right? Well,
I remember discovering that at one of your talks.
yeah, and then thanks. I'm glad that. Yeah, but the same thing for the config server, right? It's just like an annotation,
Right.
or the Hystrix dashboard we used to have. We still have it, I think, but I'm not sure. I haven't tried it in years. And then all this stuff. It's just very sort of even when you just use Spring Boot Starter Web, suddenly you've got an embedded Tomcat.
Yes.
It's this magic feeling of like, hey, I've done proportionally very little.
Yes.
I've given a cue to my framework that I want a thing, and then it just works. Huge, and you can unwind the assumptions, you can change it, but it just works. The Spring authorization server is the first thing to give me that feeling in years, because we don't have any new config servers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right, and you got to watch Steve set it up. Everyone, just watch his.
He's a great guy.
All the people on the Spring team are great, and Steve's great. You're great. I appreciate that.
You're great.
No,
you're great.
But you watch him like start from zero.
Yeah,
which I love, and then suddenly we've got like a full OAuth OIDC IDP identity provider. What?
Without 5,000 lines of config to set up your key cloak.
I think we had a working thing within like 3 lines of YAML. Whoa, what happened there?
I think so. I think it's
blows my mind. Yeah, just absolutely amazing. So can you? Okay, so tell us about the authorization server. I mean, I kind of broke. I didn't do a great job there. They know I love it, but they don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think so. So the project started 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. And we were redoing OAuth 2 in Spring, and we had decided to drop it, right? To drop the authorization server. And
right. We had this old project called the Spring Security OAuth project.
Yes, exactly.
Separate, and it had support for clients, resource servers, and an authorization server.
Yeah.
And then we slowly rebuilt all that to be compliant with the new stuff.
Yes.
And then the first thing was the client support, OIDC client in Spring Security 5, and then like 5.1 or 2, whatever we had, the resource server.
Yeah.
And then eventually we just said, we're not going to bother fixing that last thing because
you have package solutions already.
Yeah,
right?
like Keycloak and
everybody's running Keycloak or a web service, right?
So
Azure Keycloak, Okta, and the community did not agree with that. No, they were not happy with this.
They told us no.
They told us you need to do this. So we did this, right? And the idea is not to give you a fully packaged solution as a Keycloak of Okta would do, right? You have a framework for building your own. But the great folks at Spring Security and Spring Boot, they got together to give you all the opinions so that, in a few lines of YAML, you have a running thing. Yeah. And then you can add your behavior on top of it, right? You want to shade and change the shape of your tokens. You want to add more claims. You want to filter based on, I don't know, roles or whatever.
Right.
You can do that with the Spring Security mindset of like, oh, I add this bean, and then I can change the tokens based on those conditions. I add these beans, and I can change where I read my clients from, and so on.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like there's so many different things you have to care about when you think about OAuth. So to have that usefully set up by default, so you don't have to know everything to get you started. But then one thing that it's Spring Boot. You just add beans and they override parts of the machine.
Yeah, exactly. And you stay in the same ecosystem now for you have multiple services, microservices, whatever you call it, and you want to do OAuth, right? So you need something that gives you tokens and you're not really sure what you should use.
Right.
Well, with Spring Boot, Spring Auth server, you have out of the box a thing that will give you the token, which will do the basics of handling your users and allowing to leverage these other projects, the client, the resource server, right?
But what I wish I didn't record this part, but the thing that blew my mind was I wanted to make it so that the sessions were preserved, that client registrations were in their database, and so that the sessions were also stored in the database. So that way, if I had 2 instances of the auth server and I got load balanced to a different instance, I didn't lose my OAuth session, right?
Yes.
And also so that the token would be valid across multiple, like even if I restarted the auth server, I want the token to still be valid. I don't want them to be kicked out. So all that requires persistence. So I pinged Steve.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course there's like in-memory implementations, but there are also JDBC repository implementations and all this other stuff,
Which we went out of a way to do that, right? So the philosophy is more just provide the in-memory and let the users provide their own.
Right.
But we did add by default JDBC implementation. So you don't, like, if you want high availability, you slap a database.
Right.
And then your tokens are, preserved across multiple instances, so that you don't have to build your own persistence layer.
Right. So is that what is in the authorization server?
Yeah, there's no in the open source one.
Okay, yeah.
So in the open source one, there's a JDBC. In the component we do not manage users. Users are delegated to upstream identity providers. The idea is more, it's your enterprise component. So in the days of yore, you wanted an OAuth client to your SSO system. What did you do? You sent an email to the SSO team or the identity team, right? And so you say, oh, I want a client and I want to use this scope and that scope, and my redirect URI will be this. You send the email, you go grab a coffee, nothing comes back. And then the next day, maybe you get an email back with some credentials. And then you try them, you realize you gave the wrong redirect URIs.
No.
And so, right. And so the idea is, the users are still in your Azure AD or your corporate LDAP, whatever.
Yeah.
But we put a layer of self-service in front of that.
Right.
So the admins set up an authorization server, and you, as a developer, you can go and request within the bounds of what's allowed. You can request client credentials to try it, right, to get tokens from it. And so, we don't leverage the JDBC implementation.
Right.
We have our own because we don't want to be managing a database. We're running on Kubernetes.
I see. So you're, and that's a good point. OAuth is not authentication; it's authentication delegation, right?
Exactly.
It's authorization. Actually, it's taking the information about a user, which it gets from somewhere else, anywhere else. It's up to you to find out what that is, and then to turn that into a claim, a job with claims, which then you, the developer, can use to say, oh, well, this person has the claim that allows them to view this web page or make a change to that or whatever. But it's that glue, right? The authorization server is supposed to be that kind of glue.
Exactly.
So but you've got the integrations with like Active Directory and that's what the federated enterprise thing does.
Exactly. Right. And all the rules of like, oh, if you have these groups in AD, then you have these roles and these scopes that are available, which are set by the security folks or the single sign-on folks or whoever. And like they give you the rules, and you, as a developer, you can just request a client, and everything will be configured without having to go through compliance or whatever.
Wow. That's amazing. So I don't know, like you can use Active Directory in the open source Spring security. Okay, friends, you can.
Yes.
And you can use the authorization server. And yeah, you could probably build this stuff yourself at some point. But have you worked with Active Directory? Active Directory is, I've talked about this before. Active Directory is undoubtedly the most powerful identity, directory service ever. It's used by a bazillion organizations around the planet. If it's not if it's not an actual standard, it's certainly the de facto standard for this kind of stuff. So, and there's others, but I'm just saying, like it because of that, you need expertise level depth to work with that. There are people whose sole job all day, every day, they go into the office and all they're to do is to make sure Active Directory hums, that it sings, that it works correctly, Yes. And so having that integration with your identity provider is valuable. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. And so especially if you have an old one, and then this LDAP thing, and then you have to understand LDAP, which is a protocol from probably created before I was born. And so the idea for us is also we give you the most common standard interface, which is OpenID, right? And OAuth for authorization. We give you this, and then behind the scenes, it does LDAP, it does OpenID, and we have experimental support for SAML.
Really?
Which
SAML
is also
not fun.
No.
If you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to be fun.
No.
But
even when you do what you're doing, it's not super fun.
There's just a lot of moving parts. I think we had Rob Winch on this show, and we were talking about SAML coming back. They just did. I guess you all just did a new release of it.
Yeah. They merged the project. It was a separate project like Spring Security Auth.
Right.
We had Spring Security SAML, and now SAML support is in Spring Security.
Right.
And it's integrated with boot, right? You can put just your metadata URI and then boom, SAML login, depending on all the
Right.
subtleties of how your SAML provider is set up. But it's a protocol that was designed a while back. There things that you have to go over to make it work in a more modern app.
I've never done it.
Bless your heart.
Well, I mean, so I know. I mean, you do it, right? And obviously, Rob can do it, and Rabel, even he can do it, right?
Yes,
Rabel's,
they have support for
great.
SAML and Okta. Well, I think Azure Active Directory has both SAML and OpenID.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's true. And that's true. By the way, you can one thing that blows me away is you can use a Azure Spring Apps, and there's Active Directory there. I'm like,
yes.
And just this is one of those things where you want the cloud doing it for you. I'm very happy if I don't have to maintain the lifetime of that particular piece of infrastructure. I have been a DB admin. I don't want to be, but I know what to look for, and I know how to set up logs and how to do password rotation and all that. That's fine. Active Directory scares me. That thing is a beast.
Oh yes.
Yeah. There are too many moving parts,
And it's very critical to your
Yeah.
enterprise, right?
Especially
if you mess it up.
Oh yeah, not good. So okay, so that sounds like a painful thing to build. I'm glad you built it, not me. Where does it get used? I mean, somebody asked a question. Is that
so? If I use Tap for Tanzu application platform, it's using Spring Authorization Server under the hood. That is correct, right? So if you want SSO in your apps, if you want client credentials to get tokens, what you will have is an authorization server. And you can maybe have multiple authorization servers, one for your LDAP and one for your Okta integration, because you have separate orgs, and so we give you an API and you say, I want an auth server, I want it connected to this, and then you can obtain token from those. So it's used here in Tap. Obviously, we package it, and we have Tap has a lot of opinions around exposing. How do I deploy an app on Tap? Basically, you give a URL to it, and it will fetch the code, it will build it, it will build the image, it will do source scanning, it will run the tests, it will.
So Tap is it's Kubernetes plus a whole platform.
Yes. Yes.
And so you can run it on any Kubernetes. It doesn't have to be our flavor of it.
Yes.
And Tap is, I mean, there's so many parts to it, but the idea is that you want to have a system to build. Hello from Stockholm. Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. The idea is that you want to have a system that allows you to build reusable pipelines.
Yes.
Is that fair? Does that seem right? I think that's the beating. Like when you get into Tap, you get into building pipelines.
So the idea is we had Cloud Foundry.
Yes.
Right. VMware, then Pivotal, then VMware again. We had Cloud Foundry with the Tanzu application service.
We had it.
Right. And that's that CF push experience. I have an app, I push it. And the idea is, here's my app.
Run in the cloud. I don't care how.
Exactly.
Haiku.
And so the developer experience of this was great.
Mm-hmm.
But enterprises asked for more flexibility in configuring how an app gets built, how it gets deployed. And so Tap is the next generation of this experience, right? So instead of doing CF push, you do Tanzu apps workload create. And the difference with Cloud Foundry is that your company will have their custom pipelines for doing FIPS compliance or whatever,
security scanning, building images,
right?
Running you can actually you can pass in a code and then have that built, or I guess you can pass in a jar. Is it like
you can't? Well, you could do it. You could pass a jar. You could pass a built Docker image, right? That you build with a Gradle or Maven build image, right? And integration. Yeah, it has a testing inside, right? And depending on the pipelines you use, we Tap provides some pipelines, but your company may provide their own,
right?
And it's still a quite it's still a bit of a steep learning curve for developers, right?
Not for developers, for operators. Well, no, if you're trying to manage it if you're trying to set up your own workloads and pipelines, that's steep.
Yes.
So the idea is that you shouldn't.
Yes.
If you're a developer, there's
Yes.
going to be one that's already been furnished for you.
Yes.
by
But
the-
then you're going to be writing YAML even a little bit. We try. So the goal for TAP is like you write as little YAML as possible, but you may have to write 20 or 30 lines.
Workloads aren't that big usually, right?
Yeah, it's true.
A lot of times
It's
I
true.
can just specify a Docker image, whatever. I've seen 10-line YAML files, and that
You can do it on the command line.
It expands to exactly. It expands behind the scenes to a whole forest of YAML.
Yes. Yes.
But that's the whole point. Is from the developer's perspective, your contract with the platform is this little tiny bit of YAML, and your app.
And your Git repository, right?
Yeah.
It pulls it and
That's the input, and the output is whatever your company wants, reusable, flexible, scalable, etc. And there's some good ones, like if you want to do, like you said, FIPS,
right,
or security scanning, vulnerability scanning, continuous integration and deployment, testing, feedback, blue-green deployments,
right.
everything.
Multi-cluster and
Yeah.
so on, right?
Oh,
So the idea is to, when I speak with Spring developers, lots of people are very confused by Kubernetes, right?
Oh yeah, me too. I think I could pass the Kubernetes. I've studied and I've gotten to the point where I'm now reasonably assured that I could pass the certification.
Yes.
Still do not feel like I understand the thing.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I mean,
it is-
when you pass your exam, you understand each of the tools one by one, right?
Right.
This is a hammer, and I can drive a nail with it. This is a screwdriver. I can drive, screws.
Yeah.
But then the next day you come to work and you're asked to build a house.
Well, that's just it. Actually, you do need to build a house.
Right.
You're just given planks of wood and some
Yes.
nails, and so we're building that house for you, right?
Yeah.
That's Tap.
Yeah.
Tap. Your house on Tap Street. Like we have I've even, I'm a Kubernetes contributor.
Oh,
Like I committed to the official Kubernetes Java client. Right.
amazing.
Yeah. So like that's an official Kubernetes project. Therefore, I am a Kubernetes contributor. You can do GraalVM native images because of that with Spring
Wow.
Boot 3, right? You can build
Yeah.
controllers and operators or whatever
Right.
with Spring Boot
Yes.
now because of my contributions. And I'm still don't feel like I know enough to like call myself a Kubernetes, expert. Like I can pass the exam and I'm a contributor officially.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I still don't know how to get from planks of wood to that mansion that you seem to have built over there,
Yes. And it took a few iterations, right, to be stable and work. And if you're a Java developer and you want to do like Kubernetes stuff in your app, it's still a bit weird, right? Because the people who built Kubernetes they all come from Go,
Mhm.
right? So even the Java client is a bit has this flavor of Go and this API that looks like Go and speaks like Go.
It's code generated from from
Yes.
gRPC and stuff, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like,
And then it has these, like, once you want to do more fancy stuff, there's no docs, there's just examples, and it's for you to figure out how to use them.
a lot of times I find myself looking at Go code for like, I want to do this thing in a controller. Like, how do I do it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's ripe for contributions on docs and on improving the API.
And also auto. I think I would really love to see Spring Cloud Kubernetes start to provide more idioms for building controllers.
Yeah.
We talked about this, Ryan and I.
Yeah.
Ryan Baxter, he's another one of the people that just like you, that I just look at and go, I wish I could do half that. It was just amazing.
Well, you say that, but I saw your presentation. Like I saw a Spring Boot
that was
demo in 2017.
You're thinking of somebody else. So
I'm pretty sure it was so fast. I'm pretty sure nobody can go as fast as you.
it was probably Heckler. I don't know, or somebody awesome. Anyway, yeah, like that the world right now is ripe for the world of platforms is
Yes.
ripe for democratization, right?
Yeah.
Large organizations, they can it's paradoxical. The large organizations that could successfully endeavor to build a brand new platform don't want to,
Yes.
and the ones that the big ones are willing to pay,
Yes.
and those that can't, usually, because it's too much work to pay to build,
Yes.
right? So they're in a situation where they just do without,
Yeah.
and it's very strange to have an open source project and still feel like you're doing without.
Yes.
Like you have to give up. It's free. How much what's the cost? But the cost is you have to build on top of that, right?
And
And,
if you let your developers like run with it, it's so much overload,
Mhm.
right? You already have to understand all of your business, domain. You have to understand the technologies you use, and now we're asking you to understand some level infrastructure
Yeah.
as well. That's not sustainable. Like,
one of the things I love about TAP is that it is our opinionated integration of a lot of different open source components.
yes,
And so we mentioned the authorization server story, right? That's the federated security approach, but also cartographer,
right.
Carvel, that whole tool suite, that's all open source. In theory, you could start with that too and get a lot of benefit, right? But trust us, we've taken it a step further, what are some of the like when we talk about Kubernetes, what are some of the requirements like to run TAP? What pieces do people need to have installed or think about before they can start
So
thinking about TAP?
So this is more of an operator question, like if you want to operate it. But for developers here at SpringOne, we have announced that we have the TAP Developer Sandbox, which is available online, and you can go and try out and deploy your workloads.
Where's that?
So it's tanzu.academy.
Tanzu.academy.
Yeah, and then I think it's like /developer sandbox. You can see it at the top, right? So there's a link, and in here, so you have to create an account with VMware that you may or may not have, and you click, and you get an environment in which you can deploy a few workloads without having to care about all the details of. So, for example, you won't be provisioning your own auth server. Like we have one for you. You won't be provisioning your own Postgres. We have one for you. You want Rabbit, you want Redis, we got you covered. It's for testing purposes. So these environments are, I think it's 8 hours or 8 hours renewable once. But you can write your YAML, you can deploy it, you can see it. You put your YAML in Git, and you go home, and then the next day you request a new sandbox, and you reapply the same YAML, and you get the same result, except the URLs will have changed because these are ephemeral. But for getting started, it's a great stepping stone.
Huh? I didn't know that was out there already. That's amazing. Yeah, go there. I'm gonna go there. I kind of wish I could go there now, but so we have a question here. Hi, Josh. Sorry for taking it off topic.
There's no off topic.
No off topic.
It has Spring in it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I'm starting a new web app with Spring Boot 3 and will utilize native image support. I've used profiles extensively in the past. Should I avoid it for better native support? Yeah, avoid it. So it's not. I mean, theoretically, you could make it work, but here's the mental model you have to keep in your head. Native images, they do this reachability analysis, right? And so basically just imagine something looking at your main method and looking at the classes that your main method is using and the class that it's using and all the types that those classes are using. So if you're using string, it's probably using a byte. And then if you're using Spring application, Spring Boot application annotation, what does that link to? What types are being imported basically everywhere? It's going to compute all the things that are being explicitly used somewhere in your code base, and then it's going to throw everything else away. And this makes it so that the resulting binary is actually very small. Theoretically, it's good for from a security perspective as well. But it means that things that you're not using are going to be thrown away. And so what profiles do is they allow you to have code that's just sitting there not being used until you activate a switch. Well, when you do the compilation, if those things aren't being used, and if it can't decide that they are being used, it throws it away. And that produces a very small, fast binary that's also better from a security posture. But it means that when you come to runtime and you try and activate that profile, it's not going to work, right? So unless you compiled the application with the profile active, right? Which is also weird because sometimes you might have like Kubernetes specific stuff or whatever that activated on a certain profile. So that needs to all be present when you build the native image. And that's not going to feel right. So I would just avoid it. I would just find ways to build my code in such a way that there's one true build, one true path through the program logic flow.
And when you think about it, there's only one build you need to do. When you run on your developer laptop, you may have a profile that is specific to the developer laptop that replaces Beans or whatever.
Yeah, for
and
dev.
Then, right, for dev. Yeah. And then the rest is you're going to be doing native image, probably goes into a cloud or a Kubernetes. And so that is the build. And so that's the default profile, if you will.
Yeah, and that's true. And by the way, that limitation also applies to conditionals, right? So we have things like conditional on bean or conditional on class or conditional on cloud. Those conditionals have to be true at build time, because otherwise those beans won't be compiled, and therefore if they turn true at runtime, it's going to fail because it's going to try and create a bean that doesn't exist, create a bean out of a class that doesn't exist. So like if you're using conditional on cloud platform and then you specify Kubernetes, the tests that runs need to be true at compile time, right? If you want that to work at runtime. So things like that, where you're having conditionals for certain beans, you need to, take care of those as well. We had to do that. We had to go through and, some things actually, it's better. We can actually, we have this ability to evaluate at compile time what types are going to be there, right? And so we can create an index of all the types that will be there, and then just proactively if we know the types aren't there, that means they'll never be there. We can just remove them for you, right?
Yes.
So the conditional on class stuff, for example, it's really nice. Like we can actually see that this will always be false because this type isn't here now. It's never going to be here. So don't even bother. We don't even bother putting the bean in the resulting binary, which is good for performance and security, but also it's that situation I just described. It'll break your expectations around that. I think it's a nice compromise. I think
it is. It requires a little bit of work. And then you mentioned this like conditional on platform, for example, and this is something that we try and discourage now. You want to build an app that's not aware of the platform it runs in.
Yeah.
And you want the platform to come and help the app. Right?
Yeah.
So from a developer perspective, you don't care about the specifics of the platform. The platform comes in and then does stuff for you.
Right. Yeah, and Tap is good at that. Tap is built with that kind of. And actually, one thing I loved. So we're Tanzu. We're the Spring team at Tanzu. You've got Tanzu on your chest and your sweater. I mean, but Spring is part of Tanzu.
Yes.
So at first, I was a little chagrined to find that the people building Tap, a lot of whom come from the Spring team, were not building something specifically for Spring. But then I realized, wait, actually, this is quite good. They have gone well out of their way to make sure that what they're building is generic for everything.
Yes.
And so that means using open protocols, open, interfaces to communicate with the app, to interface with the app, to integrate with the app, as opposed to using Spring-specific idioms.
Yeah.
It's great. It works out. I mean, we have the same features as we ever would, right? It's nice. Quite a nice achievement there. I don't know. What's the thing you're most excited about here at SpringOne?
What was cool? I mean, it was great to see what all the Spring folks have been working on lately, right? So there's a lot of new things. We are moving quite fast, right? The releases are streamlined. We're heading towards Java 21. Already ready for that.
19 September next month, less than a month from now.
Yeah.
Java 21. Do not forget that.
So you can already start preparing your apps for that. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah.
A few years back, all the rage was Kotlin because Java was kind of stuck in the past when we were just Java 8,
Yeah.
Java 8.
Or worse, Java 7 for how many years?
Oh my God. And now we're catching up. I feel in Java and Spring is like
right there with it.
Yeah. Delivering. So that's quite exciting.
Did you see the Spring AI project?
No, I haven't. I've seen it mentioned, but I haven't gone to the presentation. I'm pretty curious about it.
Well, he and I are doing that presentation today, but also we did a live stream yesterday. Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
I'm still confused about AI, about use cases. When we are building infrastructure projects, it's I still lack the use case for me yet. So I'm glad that people are trailblazing this, building real customer experiences. These was it in the keynote yesterday that 2 days ago where we showed you can build a chatbot for this Acme fitness app, right?
Well, so that's using Spring AI, right?
Yeah, right.
But Simon says it was a great interview. I agree. That Dr. Pollock's discussion yesterday was pretty great. Or maybe he's talking about this one. This one's great too. But I don't know. Either way, true. And bigger thing. End of support for Spring Boot 2.7. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Bigger thing. End of support. Spring Boot 2.7 and Java 8 goes out of support soon. Is it November, I think? Something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
You can still use it, but you're on your own. I wouldn't do that. So, upgrade. Spring Boot 3. Spring Boot 3.2 will come out this November.
Yes.
So 3.0 has been here for a year, right? We released it last November, the first 3.0 version, and 3.1 came out in May. Both says Simon. Thank you, Simon. So yeah, it's a great time to look into open rewrite, or just to. It's not that. I mean, if you only get one app, it won't take that long. It just most of the changes are pretty small, and it'll take. I reckon you could get it done in a day, and then spend another day figuring out the native stuff, and now you've got an app that uses the latest and greatest.
Native is like it's the next step. First, you must migrate.
Just get to Spring Boot.
You must migrate.
Yeah.
No, you can't have this where you run on like Java 6 for 10 years and your app is stuck in like Spring Framework 2, right? It's now with all the CVE, the requirements, now you have to patch. Not only people doing infrastructure stuff, and I feel the Spring team is doing a great job at like letting you like move forward, at your own pace, but encouraging.
Hola desde Las Vegas to our friend here from the Dominican Republic. Hello.
Buenas.
So that's thanks. Yeah, so I agree. The Spring team is just amazing. So the AI stuff.
Yeah.
So if people can, they should watch that video yesterday, because Dr. Pollack introduces AI first. Like breaks it down, and it sets the scene. This is really great to have him demystify what we're trying to do first.
Right.
Then we look at the code, and only after he's established some baseline requirements for understanding it. And it's really, wow, what a well thought out discussion of the topic. And one thing that you just talked about infrastructure and all that, and that's been my take too, which is it's a bot. It's going to talk to me. How do I program against talking? What's that look like? And he says, well, actually, that's a huge part of it. That's because I've seen the memes. I kind of understand saying the right thing to guide the AI in a way that it gives you something useful.
Right.
Is 80% of the job. Right. That's what that term prompt engineering. But Fireship, they call it prompt engineering, right? Which I think is hysterical. You're a prompt engineer, right? That's your job, is just to type the right things into the chat box. And so a big part of using Spring AI correctly is just, you really need to know, hey, AI, I need you to give me only JSON.
Right.
It has to be compliant with this schema.
Right.
Don't say anything else. And if you don't know anything, don't say anything. Right. Like you really have to set all that. Like, yeah, exactly. The explanation around tokens and all that stuff was masterful. Just amazing, I hope people check that out. And I'm working with him on the native support. So soon we will have
Spring
AI
native AI.
GraalVM. And imagine Project Loom will come soon with Java 21. That's next month.
Right.
There'll be a GraalVM native image soon version that supports Project Loom.
Wow.
So you can build a Kubernetes controller that takes up, 0.5,
right.
0.05, just 15 milliseconds, takes up 100 megs of RAM.
Yeah.
Has AI, and it's all Spring Boot.
Oh,
Like you could just imagine. I mean, you could do some crazy stuff now.
This is the rise of the machines. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that.
And also Loom, hundreds of threads, millions of threads, no problem. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it's just free. So I can't wait, because I've got these M1s.
Yes.
These things are screaming fast. I can't wait to see what I can do with it.
Yeah.
Like just completely, unlocked.
Yeah.
Spring experience. Wow.
Yeah. These are great beasts for running your computation.
Do you use the M1s as well?
Yeah, I have an M1.
Okay, that makes sense.
It was great. I worked on the flight here. Worked for
10 hours. I've still got 50% battery or some crazy thing like that.
And you've been compiling it. It's not just like typing.
Well, regular Java compilations.
Yes.
GraalVM ones that you can start. It's not quite to the point where I can see it, but it's like,
yes,
even I can almost imagine my laptop wheezing.
Yeah, but it doesn't do that anymore. No. It's not possible.
Yeah, it's not possible. Oh, hey, look at that.
Hey, hi, Manus.
somebody's watched your talks many times. That's very cool.
Oh, like I imagine that's the DevOps talk from last year. It was a hit. It was a hit. I think we have like a few tens of thousands of views.
Let me find that.
Yeah, by name you can find it. It's called Spring Security Demystified.
Oh, I did see that one. Spring Security Demystified.
And it's 2.5 hours.
Oh, this is going to be, I'm going to watch this one again. Here we go. Yeah, 30,000 basically.
Wow.
And with these people here, we have a huge number, maybe 5 more people will watch.
Yeah, it's great. That's one of the challenges of Spring Security. It's like how do you get past the examples, and the goal of that one is to give you the tools to try and like implement your own use cases, because
Right.
like this Lambda, like this API is kind of a bit hard to discover. You don't really know what you're doing, and it's only a few concepts under the hood. And once you have those, then
And I was talking to 100%. But in the beginning, there was this authentication manager hierarchy,
right,
and then there's this authorization manager, or no, not access decision, something like that. There's a whole thing around authorization. There's 2 verticals, 2 tree trunks. One is for who's this user? No, is this user? Who's the user?
Yeah,
the user is Josh. And then the other one is what can Josh do?
Yeah,
Is he allowed to read? Is he allowed to make changes or delete,
yes.
whatever? So that's 2 different use cases, and there's like 1 or 2 interfaces that at the heart of all that. So it seems like it's going to be very simple. On the authorization side, however, it explodes into this like access decision, voters, and attributes, and it just gets really complicated. I was just talking to Winch the other day, Rob Winch, the Spring Security lead, and he was saying, no, actually
Spring Security 6.
We have a new thing
that
just is now just basically one interface for authorization. So you can use the old stuff; it's not gone, but there's a much easier approach, and you can plug that in. So now, like,
I should do something on that, because that DevOps talk was only on authentication. It touches a little bit briefly on authorization, but mostly authentication.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours on just authentication.
Yes,
and now you could have done another week on the authorization stuff.
I don't think Stefan's gonna let me,
have
like hug the room for 1 week.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure people would attend. After some time, you need
if you
some
said
brain space.
I don't know. I think people would. If you said to people, "Hey, watch this, and you will know everything you need to know to secure an app."
Yeah.
In 2023.
Yeah.
Or at least you'll have all the tools all the quills in your binder, or whatever. If you watch this, all the tools in the toolbox to mentally go out there and do that. Yeah, I'd watch anything that promised that. Are you kidding? Huge
Speaking
win.
of that,
yes,
Spring Academy.
Oh, Spring Academy. That's another thing. That's not new, but it is worth pointing out. That's amazing.
What's new? So Spring Academy website. We have Spring courses. There's a certification on there. And this week we added the Spring Security course. I have not watched it, but
I'm sure it's great. The other ones
I can vouch for Josh Cummings on the Spring Security team, who participated in writing that course. So I'm sure it is amazing. And it has everything you need to learn.
And he's been on the show before. He's great. Yeah.
Right.
Good. It's been too much good stuff. I like that I've spent a lot of my time in today's episode just telling people to go watch other stuff.
Yeah. I give you the keys. How do I secure a Spring Boot app?
Just add the Spring Security Starter. Yes, it is definitely secure by that point. It's maybe a little too secure.
Yeah, too secure. Well,
you have to unwind some of it.
Yeah.
To let people into at least the stuff you want them to see. But that's a good point. That's a guaranteed. It's secure. Just add that starter.
Yeah, and then it's a good practice. Like Spring Security teaches you so much, right? It teaches you the good practice of like secure by default. So as you say, it's too secure, but it's better to be too secure than not enough secure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so like by studying what Spring Security does, you could apply your own good Spring Security best practices.
And watch the Spring Security Demystified. Absolutely.
Right, and reach out. I'm always happy to chat about these things.
Which gets us to the last thing. That we're gonna wind down, and when we wind down, I always ask the normal questions, right?
I haven't prepared for this.
Yeah, it's a pop quiz. Are you? Whoa!
Wait, one more question.
Whoa, we got right in the 11th hour. This just in.
Boom.
Breaking news. Random question, Josh. What kind of impact do you expect the new REST client to have on Webflux inclusions? I think, does that mean like adaptations? Like how many people are going to use Webflux now? Or you're saying people are using the web client and they're bringing in Webflux, and maybe they won't do that with the REST client? Is that the idea? I'm not sure if that's the right question. Is that?
Well,
is that
we'll
you
see.
think that's what he's
I
asking?
think so, right?
Okay. In that case, yeah. If you're just bringing in Webflux, if you're bringing in the Spring Reactive stack just because you want the web client, then yeah, that's going to go down a lot. But I don't know. I think the REST client, it's
great. So Webflux is great because it has where like the reactive stack is amazing.
I love it.
It has great use cases, but it is complicated, right? It's a
I
different.
I don't even agree with that. I find it fine. I'm like
it's a different mental model to the
yes,
imperative.
it's different, not
right?
complicated.
So it's not complicated, but you have to relearn a new model for programming
Right.
that we're not used to, right? So
Yeah.
once you learn it, it's great, but you have to learn it. With REST client, you stay in the imperative model.
Which is great if you want, like, having done the work to learn the and I agree, when at the very beginning only knowing Java and not being a particularly gifted functional programmer, I didn't really understand the reactive stuff.
Yeah.
But you talk to people in the Scala community who are doing lots of functional programming. You talk to people who are doing in Lisp world land and languages like that. Reactive isn't different. It's just another functional programming model, right? It's just and it's nice, but oh yeah, since REST. So Simon's saying since REST template was so verbose, it was verbose only if it didn't do what you wanted to do in one of those convenience methods, right?
Yeah.
It was either all or nothing. Either you used the convenience methods, which solved the problem nicely with one little method, or you had to pass in basically everything
just to add one header,
right? To do something special.
Yeah.
So you, like many of us, and myself included, pulled the web client in just to use the web client, but
and then cold block on it.
Yeah. Oh, every time you do that. Karma.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, great question. But last question: are you on the internet?
I am.
And if so, do you want to be found? And if so,
I would like.
Where
to be
do
found.
People find you?
So you can find me on the internet at my website, which has all the contacts, which is Garnier.wf. No T, just WF.
WF.
Yeah. It's one of the French territory, like overseas territory, Wallis et Futuna. As you can imagine, Garnier.fr was taken already. I tried sending them an email, like, can you yield that to me, please? But they never answered. So you can find me there. You can find me on X, Twitter, whatever this is called, at Kehrlann, KEHRLANN.
HRLANN.
Yes. I try to make it complicated so people don't find me. And you'll find a contact email on my website as well.
Wait. K-E-H.
That's fun. I mean, my name, if you look for me by name, like Daniel Garnier-Moiroux, you won't find many of those.
You have a UUID.
Exactly. It's my UUID, Garnier-Moiroux. Maybe
Cool.
I'll find something about my dad or something. I don't know.
Cool.
And reach out. I always take the time to answer to messages or email, even though it might take a little while.
It's true. There are a lot of reasons why it's a bad idea to respond to my questions, and you always do, even despite that. I appreciate it, by the way.
So reach out. I am not as popular as Josh, so I have only a few emails coming in, so I can take
that's a good point. He's got more bandwidth.
Yes,
Yeah,
much more.
And he's smarter, so it makes it easier. Okay, my friend, thank you for taking the time.
De rien.
Merci mille fois.
Oui. C'est
Okay.
un plaisir.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
À la prochaine.